The President and First Lady quarantine. What top politicians around our state are saying about the positive COVID-19 tests.
Plus, with Halloween coming up, the 3 state universities are warning students about the consequences of having parties during the pandemic.
And the Latino vote has the potential to make a big impact in the upcoming election. We break it down later this half hour.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Kelsey Calisi.
And I'm Maithili Gulbi. Thank you for joining us. The White House confirming both President Trump and the First Lady have tested positive for coronavirus. And the president is being taken to Walter Reed National Military Center, where he's expected to be admitted to stay for several days, according to a White House spokesperson. The president tweeted news of the positive results earlier. Trump, who at age 74 and overweight falls in a higher risk category, tweeted, "We will get through this together," as did the First Lady.
All of you know the president and the First Lady tested positive for COVID-19. They remain in good spirits. The president does have mild symptoms, and as we look to try to make sure that not only his health and safety and welfare is good, we continue to look at that for all of the American people. He continues to be not only in good spirits, but very energetic.
Earlier Thursday, advisor Hope Hicks tested positive for coronavirus. The vice president and his wife tested negative this morning. The Trump's quarantine follows a period of campaigning, including a private fundraiser at his golf club in New Jersey on Thursday, a Wednesday rally in Minnesota, and the first presidential debate Tuesday, just a few feet away from the Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden. He and his wife Jill have since tested negative. All this happening with the election just 32 days away. Top politicians across Arizona took to Twitter to wish the president well. Governor Doug Ducey tweeted, "Arizona's prayers are with Donald Trump and FLOTUS and for their swift recovery from COVID-19. Former Governor Jan Brewer wrote, "May God watch over, protect, and quickly heal both of them." Democratic U.S. Representative Greg Stanton gave his well wishes to the Trumps and others who have contracted the virus. And Democratic Senator Kyrsten Sinema tweeted, wishing full and quick recoveries for the president and First Lady.
Meanwhile, the president has planned 2 stops in Arizona next week. Trump was scheduled to travel to Tucson on Monday and Flagstaff on Tuesday for Make America Great Again events. However, a statement from Trump's campaign manager stated in part, all previously announced campaign events involving the president's participation are in the process of being moved to virtual events or are being temporarily postponed. In addition, previously announced events involving members of the First Family are also being temporarily postponed. Vice President Mike Pence, who has tested negative for COVID-19, plans on resuming his scheduled campaign events. President Trump was last here on September 14th for a Latinos for Trump event. The Democrats are headed to stump in our state as well. Joe Biden and his running mate Kamala Harris are scheduled to visit Arizona on Thursday. As of now, that has not changed. There are no further details known about their trip. Biden has not made any official campaign visits to Arizona since his campaign with Harris began.
What would you do with $100,000? Well, if you coach in the National Football League and decided to not wear a mask while on the sidelines, you would be using that money to pay a fine. The strict protocols the NFL put in place has resulted in minimal positive COVID-19 cases. So, how will high school football teams handle non-compliant coaches? Enough practice and anticipation. High school football under the bright lights begin on Friday night and teams are ready to roll, including coaches wearing mandated face coverings for safety reasons.
We don't have a fine for, the coach or anything like that, but we sanction games and we provide the officials. And if you can't follow the required procedures, then we won't assign officials, which means there's no game.
There are far too many games to monitor all of the sidelines each week, so the AIA has evaluators set to monitor as much as they can.
And what we're doing is paying attention mainly to help remind people we have to follow through.
I got to wear a mask. They better wear a mask. You know, that's the bottom line. If that's what the rules are, you got to follow them.
Coaches and personnel must keep a mask on at all times. And according to AIA guidelines, the players are not allowed to participate in post-game handshakes with opposing teams.
I'm now very concerned about handshakes with the player. Plus, we just spent 60 minutes touching each other and playing football against each other. So I don't really see the harm in a handshake line.
Our kids, when they go to play a game, have not been cleared, per se, like they do in college or professional sports. There's a little more risk.
With a higher risk, coaches are making sure they follow all safety protocols.
I'm one of those guys, I'm just totally jacked that we're getting a chance to play. And if that's what we have to do to get a chance to play, the coaches, I hate masks. I hate them with a passion, but I'll wear them because that's what we got to do.
Football kicks off Friday night, and the coaches and players will do anything to ensure they continue coaching and playing the sport they love. In the studio, Reed Harmon, Cronkite News.
COVID-19 cases are still being monitored on all 3 state universities. ASU reported 162 COVID-19 cases last night, and Arizona reported 312 in the past 10 days. Tempe PD says they've issued 21 party citations to students since August 28th. Taylor Tasler Oatley checked to see how student gatherings off campus are being handled.
As students returned to campuses across Arizona in August, many expected student life to look different from before the pandemic, but many were ready to resume their social lives. At the University of Arizona, the social gathering limit is no more than 10 people, but there have been reports of parties happening at off-campus residences.
Universities have highly discouraged student parties. Some have suggested students hold Zoom rooms with their friends for watch parties and to socialize while staying distant. But some students have decided to ditch the Zoom rooms and head out to parties around campus.
Each school has had to establish a set of guidelines for students who throw parties that are larger than the recommended gathering size. Kendall Washington White, University of Arizona's Dean of Students, explains how they are handling the situation.
That person will definitely be placed on interim suspension, and then we'll finish our investigation. And if it comes to the point where we realize that, yeah, you coordinated this party, then, it's highly likely that that person would be suspended.
Washington White said the school is working with Tucson PD and UAPD to track when student parties are being held off campus. According to Fox 10, Arizona State University has recently faced backlash due to how they have handled COVID cases. When asked about the consequences for students who attend or throw parties, an ASU spokesperson sent a statement which states, "The university has been clear about the expectations for all members of the ASU community as we return to campus. Gatherings such as large parties pose a threat to public health and violate our student code of conduct. ASU will take disciplinary action against any and all ASU students who organize and attend such gatherings. Possible discipline ranges from warning to suspension and expulsion from the university. Some have been critical of the rules put in place by universities to stop parties, but U of A's Dean of Students says it's a matter of public health.
It's not a right to be an organization on our campuses. It's a privilege, and I say that on a regular basis. Like, you don't have to be on this campus, and we don't have to keep you on this campus. You have to behave in ways that we want you to demonstrate what your core values are, the good work that you do in the community, but it's not a right, it's a privilege."
Northern Arizona University has not responded to our request for an interview, but according to their website, the school has made their expectations of student conduct on and off campus clear. If students repeatedly violate the code of conduct, they will be suspended or expelled. NAU has also created an incident reporting form to express concerns and violations. Taylor Tasseroli, Cronkite News.
According to the Arizona Department of Health Services, there are over 200,000 cases of COVID-19 in our state and over 5,000 deaths related to the virus. The good news, all of Arizona's 15 counties have now met the benchmarks to reopen their businesses. Governor Doug Ducey issued an executive order on June 29th requiring businesses to close to help stop the spread of coronavirus. And a dashboard was created to determine when it was safe to start opening. Counties had to be classified as moderate or minimal in all 3 metrics for at least 2 consecutive weeks to get the green light to resume operations. For more info on this story, go to our website, cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
A judge ruled today the U.S. Census deadline will be October 31st. A judge in the U.S. District Court in Northern California also ordered the Census Bureau to send a text message to all of its employees with the new date. The Trump administration is already filing an appeal. Cronkite News reporter Stephanie Rosales explains what the deadline can mean for certain areas across Arizona.
The census count in Arizona has been slow due to the pandemic, rural areas, and some populations that don't trust the census process, including some in the Latino community who are concerned about how the information is used.
This explains that your answer will be kept confidential.
They might just not have the information or know how to do it. So we're here to tell people that the census is confidential. The government at the end just gives out to the administration, to the federal government. They just give them statistics.
The Arizona Complete Count Committee focuses on partnering with community leaders to spread the word about the importance of responding to the census, explaining how it helps fund schools, healthcare, and roads.
It's those programs that we really count on to make sure that, our kids are safe, that our kids are getting educated and have everything they need, as well as our older populations, that they have the health care they need.
The census helps fund these programs, and in Arizona, more than $3,000 are lost per person every year for those that go uncounted. Due to the hard-to-count areas, many people believe the new deadline is necessary.
We noticed that there was below 50% of counted peoples and households in this area, in Sunny Slope, and we want to make sure that everybody in this area is counted because we know that those are resources that are going to come to our communities.
According to Pew Research Center, in Arizona, 31% of the population is Hispanic, and the state is the 6th largest Hispanic population in the country. Stephanie Rosales, Cronkite News.
You now have until October 31st to fill out your census, which you can do by mail, by phone, or online.
The airline industry isn't soaring right now. It's feeling the effects of the COVID-stricken economy, and officials say furloughs and layoffs are likely unless they get more support from the government. Earlier this year, the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, or CARES Act, gave airlines $25 billion to hold off on job cuts through September. But without another stimulus package from Congress, tens of thousands of airline employees will lose their jobs.
My message to Congress is that we are real people. We are aviation's first responders and frontline workers, and our livelihood and our health care is literally in their hands.
Although Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi are reportedly advancing on a stimulus deal, some of the damage is already done. American Airlines is planning to start furloughing 19,000 workers. United Airlines officials say they're considering about 12,000 cuts, and thousands of other airline workers could face the same fate if a deal isn't reached soon.
Finally tonight, NASCAR is changing things up. The championship race is being moved for the first time since 2002 all the way to Phoenix Raceway. Cronkite News reporter Rachel Phillips looks at the evolution of Arizona native Alex Bowman ahead of the second race of the round of 12.
Alex Bowman comes to the stripe to win.
Alex Bowman has a 1 in 12 chance of crossing the finish line as the champion on his home state track, something that has been more than 20 years in the making. At just 5 years old, Bowman got his first taste of cars and never looked back. Despite being behind the wheel at such a young age, Bowman admits driving on the big stage now is more nerve-wracking.
I was just all excited and ready to go all the time, whereas now it's it's a big deal, and you're on TV, you make a mistake, there's a lot of people watching.
The driver of the number 88 car always had a knack for cars. He credits growing up around his dad's body shop for the reason he was able to maintain his own cars at just 12 years old.
Not being afraid to get my hands dirty and work on the cars. You get to the cup level and that goes away. You're not allowed to maintain your own cars anymore. They have people way more qualified than me.
Start your engine!
While a career in racing was always the plan for Bowman, it wasn't going to be in NASCAR. In 2009, Bowman was racing midget cars in the USAC series, when an accident put him in intensive care. But it wasn't enough to stop him from chasing his dreams.
There really wasn't a give it up moment for sure. Probably a little bit of a reevaluation of career path maybe, and just wanting to get into stock cars instead of open wheel stuff.
Now, Bowman is racing NASCAR, and for the third year in a row, he's in the playoffs.
Had a pretty quick progression. Had a lot of help along the way from a lot of different people, and it was a pretty crazy ride, but got to drive a lot of cool race cars and have a lot of fun doing it.
In 2016, Bowman won the pole and had a near victory here on his home state track. This year, he'll have to accumulate enough points in the coming playoff races to clinch a spot in the finals and have a chance at winning the championship.
To go there and win a championship would mean the world to me, and hopefully we can make that happen, but it's just really cool that the championship race is there, and I think we're going to put on a great show for the fans.
If Alex can capture that trophy in November, I think it's only going to continue to drive more fans, more interest here in the state.
As the pressure mounts, the 27-year-old turns to his companions off the track, his two furry friends, Roscoe and Finn. Despite claiming he's a dog whisperer, Bowman still rates his skills on the track higher.
Apparently I'm not the best dog whisperer. I'm 50-50. I've got one that's an angel and one that's terrible, but that's better than two that are terrible.
Luckily for Bowman, there's nothing terrible about his race car driving. For Cronkite News, I'm Rachel Phillips.
The Tucson local placed 5th in the first race of the round of 12. With only 2 more races left in the second round, he will have to hold on to 8th spot to make it through to the 3rd round of the NASCAR playoffs. That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thank you for joining us.